Mr. Dodds? I need you, John. Doing the prayer. Do we have anyone doing the prayer and pledge?
Not without me knowing.
Oh, let's see. See it? Okay, so I'm sorry. Who is?
I'm at a loss. Sorry.
Is McKenna right? Okay. I'm gonna spell it wrong, but it's phonetically right. Okay. Okay, and then the pledge. Hey, are you doing the pledge? Okay. Bailey? Kaylee? And you just told me your last name. Oh, that's right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Kaylee.
A lot of up today. You what? We have each other today. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so I was trying to see if I've seen any of these kids at the career fair, but who was that? Is you?
Does he know?
I didn't tell him that. I just told him
And then they had a drawing and
I don't want to get him too
let's
soon.
see if that's great. Roy didn't get back here neither, did he? He's not back here yet. Yeah. Maybe these are all older kids and they're all seniors. Just trying to see if I recognize anybody. But there's quite lots of kids from all the high schools.
Good afternoon. We welcome all of you to the Iron County School Board meeting. It's great to see so many faces. My name is Stephen Allen. I serve as the president of the board and will be conducting today. We are really thrilled to have many of our student leaders from Cedar High School. And I have written down notes here. We will begin with a prayer or thought. That will be done by McKenna Cowley. And then following McKenna, the pledge will be led by Kaylee Gilbert.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Father in heaven, we come before Thee at this time, and we thank Thee for everything You've blessed us with. We thank Thee for the opportunity that we have to gather together, and we thank Thee for this wonderful day we've been blessed with. Please help us to go about the rest of our day and have a great remainder of our day, and we love Thee and we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and follow me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, McKenna and Kaylee. The board has received minutes from our last meeting, and I would welcome a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from our November meeting. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Thank you. Also, next on the agenda, we have our consent agenda. Those of you that have been here a lot, you probably get tired of me explaining it, but we have some young people here, and I just think it's important to use this as an educational opportunity. But our consent agenda items are things that we approve every time. And in our consent agenda, we have our approval of warrants. That is all the expenditures that the district has had over the last month. We also have any exemptions from school say, homeschool or other reasons, or any recommendation for students being released from the school system. And so with that, I would invite a motion to approve our consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda items for this month.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And that passes. Well, about 45 years ago, a young man started at the district. His name was Kent Peterson. And I hope I don't get emotional, but Kent is retiring at the end of the year. And he has been a wonderful employee, but also a great professional that has been a guide for the district. Has helped many boards navigate a number of things, budgets, bonds, truth and taxation hearings, as well as all of the other responsibilities within the district. And so we wanted to recognize Kent, and just to give you a heads up, maybe we'd love to have you make a few comments as well. But I want to invite the rest of the board. I know that Kent had a wonderful reception where we had the chance to share our excitement for him and the new chapter that he gets to begin. But I just want to invite the board to, if you'd like, to make a few comments before we make a small presentation to you. And Superintendent, you as well, to make some comments.
I'll jump in first because I'm the youngest on the board in terms of service. No, Dale's got me beat. You're younger than me, Dale. I just wanted to express that in the year and a half I've been on the board, Kent has been a huge asset, always willing to answer questions, public service, and all of the money and school finances seem so complex and overwhelming, and he has been so great to answer my phone calls and to explain things in a way that were helpful so that I can make best decisions for our students. And I could see that that was a focus for him as well, and I appreciated that. I also enjoy, I didn't know for years that in the morning when I was going this way in the dark on my run and there was a lone stranger going that way, that was Kent Peterson. It took me a year on the board to figure that out, and so I look forward to still waving across the street at him, but Kent has been a huge help to me personally, and I know that our district is in really good situation right now because of the 45 years that he has led the business end of things. So personally, thank you, Kent, and for our community, thank you.
I'm next youngest. Not, but I've been around a long time with Kent, and he has been such, I will get emotional, sorry. He has just been a good friend and a good man. When I was serving as a teacher, he was always dependable, and as a principal, he was just great to work with. Anytime I needed extra money for some little project and came over to beg and plead, he was always fair with me. And other districts have looked to us over the years many, many times because we have done so well in budgeting and keeping our taxes low. We are just really an outstanding district in so many ways, and much of that credit has to go to the really excellent management from Kent over these years.
And I believe that the district's financial responsibility is primarily credited to his guidance over the 45 years. He's just barely beyond apprentice level now. One of these days he's going to graduate on up, but he served this district extremely well. I'm pleased to call him a friend and recognize the service that he's provided to the county.
Am I next? Kent, I also came to the open house and I shed my tears. I'm going to try really hard not to, but I greatly appreciate you and your leadership that you've given us, and you'll be greatly missed. And I love you dearly. Thank you.
Many in the room know that I have no control over this at all. Darn it. Yes, I love Kent, and I am so appreciative of him and his direction and guidance. I remember when we first moved to Cedar City in 1997 and attending an SU football game where my daughter was attending SU and hearing this awesome voice announcing the game. And then about 3 or 4 months later, I got my first position here in Iron County, working for a private provider out in the valley, teaching young men who had suffered with at-risk issues, and coming in to sign my contract and hearing this voice again and thinking, I just heard that voice. He calls the games at SUU. So it was nice to hear a familiar voice, but throughout the years, he has been a supporter, and I have truly appreciated that support. And I'm grateful for Kent Peterson and the service that he's given to this district for 45 years that has put us in the place that we're at right now, where we are, as Mary Ann said, looked up to by other districts and in a financially sound place so that our kids can have what they need to get the education that we provide, as well as participate in the activities that they participate in. I've been so impressed with Kent. He has the unique ability to balance the money issues with the needs of our kids and our teachers in a very real way. And bottom line is, he cares about kids and he cares about our educators, and that's what has governed every decision that he's made. And I've appreciated that about him. So thank you, my friend, and you will be missed.
Kent is modest. He's wise, incredibly smart, can describe complicated things in a way that is easy to understand. And as I have had the chance to work with districts and school boards across the state, I know that Kent has been a source of wisdom and guidance and advice. And it's been wonderful to have the financial presence that we have, the low taxes, but the wise use of funds and the fairness. So thank you for your service, Kent. I would like to invite maybe Kent to come up and the board to just make we have a small presentation. We can do a photo, and then Kent, if you'd make a few comments after that. Does that sound okay?
But I'll turn it on. Shannon, for those of you here from Cedar High, I graduated from Cedar High School back a few years ago. And when I started this job, the principal, who was Jerry Hawley, came one day and he said, wouldn't you like to come and announce ball games at Cedar High? So I started with basketball, then added football, and then Dr. Steve Lunt said, hey, we lost our announcer at SUU. Would you like to come and announce there too? And so I announced ball games at SUU, and one day my wife said, you know, you're doing football and boys and girls basketball at Cedar High and boys and girls basketball at SUU and football. I think that's enough. You need to decide where you want to be. So I stayed with SUU at that point. Neither one of those schools, Cedar High or SUU, paid anything. Now I understand they do, so maybe I'd like to come back, John. And SUU started paying after I quit doing it there too, so I don't know, there's something wrong with the way I do things. I've had a great run. It's been wonderful. I've had great people to work with. I think when I started, we had just over 3,000 students in the district. We now have about 9,600. We had 8 schools, and we now have 15. 9 schools, I think, and now have 15. I was trying to think of the schools that are gone now that were here when I started, and there are a number of those that we've taken down and replaced with other schools. I've worked with 5 superintendents. Actually, probably should count 6 because we had an interim superintendent for a few months. And I counted up 30 board members. So when you think about that over that many years, that's keeping people a long time in their positions. And I think that's one thing that's been great about the district is we've been very stable. We've had superintendents that have stayed for a long time and kept us moving in the right direction, and school board members who love the students and want to do what's best for students. I appreciate Shannon's words. I hope that over the years that's what I've tried to do is make decisions that have helped students have a better education. And I thank my ladies back there who work downstairs. I often ask if I can be one of the ladies because I work down there as the only man in a group of lovely ladies, and they'll let me be a lady, one of the ladies occasionally when it fits their needs, and they would like something by way of purchasing something that will help them maybe. But no, they're great, and it's been a great time, and great associations that I have with leaders that we've had in the district, and so thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Earlier this afternoon, the board had the wonderful chance to spend some time at Cedar High School, and after students had to go back to classes during the lunch hour, I just felt so energized, and it was, as always, when we're in the schools, a wonderful reminder of why we do the things that we do. And so I'm so happy that we have many of our student government leaders here today, and we appreciate the great feeling at Cedar High. I want to invite Mr. Dodds up to do some recognitions and then go right into the school report. Does that sound okay? All right, thank you.
I'm really glad that I got the chance to come on this day, Kent. It's fun to hear those words, and I want to echo them as well. That you've been a great mentor to me in many ways. I do feel strongly that fiscal responsibility is the #1 priority of any public system, but the #2 thing is people. And this is probably going to come out wrong, and I've tried to say it in my head 5 different ways to where it doesn't come out wrong, but I've found that if Kent's around, my wife is always hugging him instead of me, right? She's quickly to hug Kent, and she does that because she knows how much he cares. Included in our school, when we come around with the school board to, again, show appreciation for the people of our system and all the years you've been able to sacrifice a lot of things within the district. And thank you to all of you for bonuses and things like that for the school and for the students, or excuse me, for the teachers and the employees. As we go around, we visit classrooms, and again, Kent's the one that gets the hugs from all the students. They run up and grab him and make sure that they know, or that he knows that they care about him. So, Kent, thank you for all your years, and thanks for the years you've had with me too. This is a fun time. We love it. Thank you for inviting us up here, the opportunity to show off all the great things that are happening in our school. I want to start by thanking our student government, as you can see, and I'm going to have them stand up. Look how nice they look. Stand up here, guys. Yep. Tanner asked, we do some celebrations of the year, and I said, there's volunteers there. He asked, is that us? And actually the answer is yes, absolutely. I want to show these guys off because they don't get recognized enough. Everything they do at our school is for someone else all day long. It's just hours and hours of extra work, and I'll come by in the evenings and you'll see them always there putting up artwork and keeping up with all the demands of the school. And what I've been most impressed this year with these students is they made a decision this year, and it was a very conscientious decision. They made a decision to have a great year, and you've done it up to this point. We've done some amazing things, and I just wanted to tell you guys publicly in front of everyone here, thank you for what you do. You don't get enough credit for it. So let's start by giving them a round of applause. You can give yourselves a round of applause as well. Yes, that's good stuff. Okay, from there right into our next recognition is, let's just go in right in order here. We have an Employee of the Year, and it's always easy to get them up here. Good people are easy to get here because you don't even have to go into detail. You just say, hey, can I have a favor? And the immediate response is whatever you need. It's just so quickly. And I was in the hallway when I asked Mr. Trotter, if he'd be willing to come up and help be a part of this meeting. And again, Mr. Trotter, can I get a favor from you? Anything you need, just anything you need. He's also following the footsteps of some great teachers. And I know he's been mentored by some of those great teachers. The Shirts has spent a lot of time in our building, hours and hours and hours that were unseen and unknown. They were part of the student government and the band and everything that they did with that. And when employees like that retire, replacing that is impossible. You can't pay for that. It's impossible. There's not a resource in the world that can get that amount of service back. And so to see new teachers that are coming in, Mr. Trotter, 5 years? 6 years. 6 years in, see those new teachers who are energized and excited and want to serve and be a part of this. There's not a given time you can come into Cedar High School that Mr. Trotter's not there. I also got a 2-for-1. His wife does the costumes and staging and all the music and all the everything else that go along with the productions. If you guys didn't get a chance to go to the White Christmas, is that what it's called? White Christmas, a wonderful production that he was able to put on with a whole district employees. So I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Trotter to be the Educator of the Year for Cedar High School. And you have to say
Thank you. Wow, I didn't know you could even be qualified for this until you were old. Oh geez, I realize I didn't. The plan wasn't to be a teacher originally, and when I accepted this job and started working, it quickly became, I quickly found that the reason why we're here, why all the teachers are here, are because of the students, and how important it is to help them find their passions and their drive and their reason for doing things. And John and I talk a lot about casting the shows. He helps with that, and I said, I care more about the kids than I care about this show. So thank you. I appreciate this very much, and we're gonna keep it up. Thank you.
It was fun to see him again jump into the traditions and everything we've done at Cedar High. One of the fun things to watch them do as a whole was to bring back our homecoming parade. And I forgot to mention that what a great success. We had so many people in the community come out and cheer us on and cheer on our students. And so bringing back some of those great traditions we've had. Thank you again for all the student government and Mr. Trotter. Thank you. Okay, to the next one is our what do we call this? It's our volunteer of the year. I don't know that we can call it a volunteer when they spend, again, more time than any employee in the building, but this is our volunteer of the year, and it could be the volunteer for the last 15 years, 20 years maybe? I don't know. She has been in our building, and again, selflessness is what we really looked at. As an administrative team, we sat down and said, who's really going above and beyond, but also giving to the whole and giving and selflessly giving to Cedar High School. If Sydney Knack can come on up here. this is another example where we didn't have to give her the details. It's just, we need you here. And she has no idea, right? She has no idea why. It's just, I'll be there, whatever you need. So she's been putting in a lot of time. She's had many kids come through. I can count how many. You'll have to tell us the details of that. But it's not just that. She's helped in every school all the way through, and especially Cedar High School as we've changed and evolved and all those things. She's just 100% support. So thank you for all you do, and you have to speak. So.
I don't know what to say. I'm embarrassed, but thank you. No, I think education's in my blood. My dad was my high school principal at Brighton High School in Salt Lake and went on to be the activities director for the state of Utah for years, Glenn Burry. And my brother just retired at Bingham High School as a teacher and a coach. I'm a teacher by profession. My mom was. And I think this has been, my heart is in high school, I think, and I've loved this, and I've loved that they've accepted and let me come and do treats. Tomorrow's a hot chocolate bar, you know. But anyway, I'm really grateful to be a part of Cedar High. I'm grateful to have my kids be a part of Cedar High. I begged my girls to come over with me because they were in. Sam was in town from the U, and I'm just really grateful for the education they've got, for the support they've had with the administration, for great neighbors like Shannon Delaney, and over the years. And so thank you, Mr. Dodds, thanks. So I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Well, we're going to be as quick as we can, but we talked as an administrative team in giving our presentation about Cedar High School. We thought we would focus on an area that we focused this past year, which is a big emphasis in schools right now, and it's behavior intervention, and it's called positive behavior intervention, our PBIS system. And so we've instituted a new program to help our teachers and to help the students at Cedar High School. In years past, when students have had behavior issues at school, there's always just been a punitive aspect to their behaviors. And the juvenile justice system has stepped in and asked that we do things that are proactive, things that actually intervene and help the students so that we no longer have that behavior occurring. So we've instituted a new program. Mrs. Sanders, myself, Ms. Ayers, Mr. Durbin. We spent some time this summer and went to Las Vegas and attended a conference and learned about some of the things that we can do to help our students. And we brought that back and created our own system. And a question that we have up here, why ISS and why solutions? Our in-school suspension is the ISS. And we looked at our data and found that when students would have bad behavior or display behavior that wasn't appropriate and they'd be suspended from school, a lot of times it was a vacation. We would send them to truancy support. They may spend a few hours there. Their parents would pick them up, and whether they would actually take them back the next few days or not, we didn't know. And the students would usually just fall behind in their academics. And so we created this in-school suspension so that we could keep them with us, so that we could make sure they wouldn't fall behind academically. And then the solutions aspect is that's what we use so that students have to take a look at their behavior and say, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I fix that? And when a student comes up with their own remedy for the behavior, they're more likely to change it. And so we use Ms. Ayers and her team in that program and in that process so that we can bridge a lot of gaps there. We found that there's a lot of success, which Ms. Ayers is going to actually cover a couple of these next few slides and kind of show the data and talk about some of the things that we're doing there. So I'll turn some time over to her.
Yeah, so, sorry, I'm a little shorter than Danny. Well, couple reasons why students find their way into our in-school suspension and solutions program. Of course, if there's been any sort of behavior or discipline issue with the student, that's one way that they find their way to us, I suppose. And the other one is probably the bigger of the two, actually, and that would be truancy. So when students start attending classes, we can obviously see a very strong correlation with their lack of success in the classroom. And so what we do, of course, if it's a discipline or behavior issue, that's usually a kind of in-the-moment type of thing, right? So it could be a classroom disruption with a teacher. They are sent to the office, Mrs. Sanders or Mr. Lewis, then visits with them and then sends them down to us. And depending on the issue or what transpired, they spend a given amount of time with us. But like I said, the bigger of the two really is truancy, kids not attending class. And even stepping into this, I didn't even realize how big of an issue that this really would be. I shouldn't say issue, but big of a challenge, maybe is a better word. We have a lot of students that aren't attending classes, and they've been doing it for many, many years. It's not that they're just arriving at Cedar High and now all of a sudden they're not attending their classes. It's become a pattern and a habit for them for several years. And so when they show up or don't show up, and then they have us kind of checking in with them, they're first kind of shocked. They don't really understand why it matters that they need to attend class and how that correlates to their grades, because truthfully, they've been kind of moved along previously. And so what we try to do is we try to intervene in a few different ways. As you can see, when they hit certain benchmarks, we kind of check in with them. The first being a phone call home. Of course, we can all understand and see the relationship with reaching out to parents or guardians in visiting with them about why their student is in class. And so after that phone call, there's a team of 4 of us that we kind of divide and conquer, and we'll go around and give warnings to students once they've hit the next benchmark of missed classes. And we just check in with them and say, hey, just so you know, this is where you're at. You've missed so many classes, and we're getting a little worried. We're a little concerned. Is everything okay? Is there anything we can do to help? After that, the next benchmark, they would come in for lunch detention with us, and that kind of stings and sticks with them pretty good because it's their own time, right? And so they have to give up their 45-minute lunch without friends and so on and so forth. And we actually have them do one last, I don't want to say one last chance, but one more time for them to have kind of some self-reflection. And we have them kind of work their way through it, and they try to identify some thoughts that lead to them missing class. So common ones that we hear are pretty common among all teenagers, right? They're tired. They don't want to be there. They'd rather be with their friends, things of that nature. And we do that so then we can start working with them to identify some new thoughts that they can put in place, so in the future they can start leaning on that new way of thinking, so to speak. And then from there, we again give them that one last chance to kind of have that self-reflection of, okay, what can I do to kind of change my course so I can get these guys off my back? That's really what they care about, right? They don't want people like us. They don't want the adults at the school. That's what we are usually referred to, the adults at the school, checking in on them and poking them. And so after that, though, we bring them in again at the next benchmark, and we do have what we refer to as our solutions work. And so we visit with those students, and we really try to get to the whys a little bit more. Why aren't you attending? What's going on? What can we do differently? And then we really get pretty concrete with their solutions that they come up with. And so we basically essentially are asking them to come up with commitments. Things that they're willing to do to change their behavior. Because after that, the next step is a parent and administration meeting. So we bring the parent or guardian in, and myself and Mr. Lewis, if they have an IEP, their caseload manager, sometimes a counselor, we kind of have that meeting, and things get a little bit more serious at that point, right? And at that point, they usually though not always, are assigned a day of in-school suspension. And we try to express and demonstrate that it's not something that we're trying to enforce this punishment, that we're handing down all these consequences, but we're really trying to regroup with the student and kind of allow them to reset and, again, make some other choices to redirect their paths. And then from there, we continue to monitor them. So we check in with them weekly or even bi-weekly, some even more than that. It just kind of depends. We continue with our phone calls home, and as you can imagine, we have some frequent flyers, as we refer to them, right? So again, some of these students have been making these choices for several years, and so they've become a very habitual part of their routine. And so it takes a lot of checking in with them. Sometimes it's just to see if they're in class. Sometimes it's a follow-up on some of their solutions or those commitments that they've made. And sometimes it's just a high five, hey, you're doing awesome. I'm so glad you're here in class. And it's not easy I shouldn't say it's not easy. Were you going to say something? I thought you were. These students, as you can imagine, have a lot going on outside of school, and so it takes a lot. It takes a lot of checking in for most of them. Some of them we've had great success, and that light bulb has kind of just gone off, and they've had that aha moment, and they've redirected their path on their own, which is what we want, right? We want to kind of be able to have that intervention and intervene with the students, and then allow them the freedom to continue to be a high school student and not have these adults at school checking in on them. These are some of the numbers that we've had. These were, as of yesterday, some of the numbers that we've seen down in there with in-school suspension and solutions. Now, I will say that next semester, something that I'm needing to adjust and get better with is tracking our solutions visits, because that isn't probably accurate. That definitely accounts for the students that have been in school suspension, and we always do solutions work with a student that's been in school suspension. But as I said, there's several other check-ins with those students that we're doing further solutions work. And so that will get better, like I said, next semester. But as you can see, a big number there, we have literally tracked and monitored 408 students. And actually, I left school earlier, and it's actually 415. So that's over a third of our population at the school that we have on our list, a huge Google sheet that we monitor every single day and are updating. And from that list, we then go and determine who needs to be checked in with and followed up with. And again, the last number up there, of course, is our lunch detention. We've had 144 students in for lunch detention, which is a lot, but it's also proving to be something that is really helping our students. Again, it's kind of the thing that stings them the most, because it's their free time. It's their time to visit with friends and grab lunch and all the things that we still enjoy, right? And so they come in there, and they more often than not are saying, we never want to come back here again, just because, again, they're giving up their time and their freedom. So I think Mrs. Sanders is going to take over and visit about the last bit. I think you were going to go to the...
Yep, I want to go back there. I want to show you the data on the right-hand side, that chart, if you don't mind looking right up there at that one, because it is a little bit separate. It does not correlate with the data that's next to it. But I have to say, it's hard for me to stand here because I want to tell everybody, because this is like awesome. So my back's to everybody, but we've got some awesome things. So I want you to look at that chart from 2018-19 to 19-20. I want you to see how we're making a difference. That's the important part. I want you to see that we are having a positive impact on what's going on with our students. And I do want to point that out today, because it does seem like a lot of numbers and a lot of things, and you're like, oh, wow, what are we doing here? But you guys, we're making a difference. And that's what PBIS is about. It's positive behavioral interventions and supports, right? It's teaching the students the behaviors that we want them to show. That's really what it's about. And a lot of times it's punitive, right? It's you're in trouble, you did something wrong, we've got to discipline you. But we now combine that, because there's still a need for that. They still have to know there's consequences, right, for their actions. But in addition to that, they've got to understand that the solutions, right? We want to teach them the proper way. We want to teach them the things things that they should be doing. And that's what the solutions is about, is to make sure that those two are bridged together, that our students are understanding that this is how you should have reacted in that situation, or this is what you should do. So we are making a positive impact. I just want to note that. We're very excited about it, and I hope you guys can feel our excitement, because we really can see the value of this program and what it's doing. And our students now have so much more support, and we think it's fabulous. So here, in conclusion, this is what we're doing for our students, and I want everybody here to feel my excitement, because this is awesome stuff, what we're doing here. We are providing training of the skills needed to change behavior. So it's no longer you did something wrong, you're out. We're providing training. We're giving them the skills needed to change their behavior. We have a decrease in our office referrals, as you saw on that previous chart. It's a decrease in students that are being sent to us. So what a positive outcome. We are improving their learning by reducing the amount of time spent out of school. They now have resources. We have aides. We have Miss Ayers here and a couple of her aides and secretary, that when the students are in school suspension, they are getting the work for them directly, and we have that connection into the classroom so that those students are continuing their learning, which is what it's about, right? Teaching all students. And then we want to help students feel and be successful in their high school classes. We want them to be able to have those skills that are going to carry on even past high school. That's important. And then our last bullet there is to prepare students to transition. And there's lots of things that our students are transitioning to. Sometimes it's alternative education, and that's okay. We want to provide them with those skills and that in order to transition. And to college, right? Trade school and or to career. We want to give them more in their tool belt. And so we're excited about this program. Thank you for letting us share a little bit about it. Do you have any questions for us?
Any examples that come to mind as this has helped students develop positive
One
skill
thing
sets?
that I would like to say is I think the positive thing that I'm getting is bridging the gap with home as well. We are becoming a partnership, right? Parents no longer are feeling like it's just, boom, you're mad at my kid did something, and they're out. We're bridging that gap, so we are gaining a lot more positive relationships with our parents and our families at home, because they know we're a team and we're looking out for their student and trying to provide them with the best education that we can. So I would say, to me, that is one specific example that I'm seeing. Ms. Ayers probably has a few others of personal students, keeping names out of it, but of course, right?
No, any specific examples? I mean, I have a lot.
Well, one or two.
One or two. I'll just go from maybe the last couple weeks. One that stands out, as I had mentioned, truancy really is kind of the bigger of the two, if I'm being honest. And we had a young man visit with Mr. Lewis and I and his grandmother. And this student has truly not attended high school. Well, he's a freshman, but he hasn't really attended school since the 5th grade. So 3 years at the middle school, and now here with us for this first semester in high school. And he certainly has had his fair share of trials and things working against him. But in visiting with them, he really did open up with Mr. Lewis and I. And these guys don't know I was going to say this, but I do want to recognize Mr. Dodds, Mr. Lewis, and Mrs. Sanders for having this vision and the courage and the strength to put this into action, right? It takes a lot of courage to do something for the first time, to show up and not know what the outcome's going to be. And for them to have the trust that this is going to work is phenomenal. So with that, though, Mr. Lewis, in visiting with this young man, he recognized that immediately, and he voiced to this young man that if you come to school at any time if you need to go down to the solutions room, you can. And I tell you what, he has been here every single day. He's come to the solutions room every day as well, but he's been back at school every single day. And that is a huge, huge victory. I mean, I can't even fully express how exciting that is. He's been to school every day, and yes, he's had to come down and visit for a few minutes down in the solutions room, but we often say here, every child, every day, whatever it takes. This is whatever it takes. So it's exciting. It does take, like I said, a lot of effort, and it isn't always the rewards, but that's one that stands out. Like I said, in just the last couple weeks, that really is exciting.
Thank you. Any other questions for these three? All right. Thank you.
Stephen,
Yes.
before you move on, you know, when you're put on the spot, you have all these blank moments, but I really need to thank my wife for all her support.
Thanks for letting him have us for longer than most professionals. Thank you. Those of you that are here or watching, you've probably seen signage by the district offices regarding the Launch High School. Last week, the district and Launch High School was featured on KUTV News, and we get a lot of questions from the public about what is Launch High School. We thought it would be nice to provide an update and a presentation on that. I want to invite Corey Henwood to come up and make a presentation on Launch High School.
Well, thank you for having me today. Excited about the opportunities coming to Iron County students with Launch High School. This is something that we've built in partnership with departments at SUU, as well as Southwest Tech and Southwest Educational Development Center. And so those are some of our committed partners to helping design an experience that's going to be more personalized for students, more driven around their passions and interests, and also have opportunities that we just simply haven't been able to provide at traditional education sites. So I'll explain a few of those unique aspects about Launch High School as it pertains to the work that we intend to do there. And so these are the 6 E's that we talk